Oh, you said you're concerned about deteriorating schools, and I'm telling you who's responsible, and you vote for them. So you have to look at your commitments. I don't say that the inner city schools are equal. I'd be the last person to say that. I've talked myself blue in the face talking. I mean, this is a terrible crime that is being committed against black and Hispanic children because the Democratic Party is running the schools as a jobs program. It's the teacher unions who, I mean, these teachers, they have contracts where they work 6 hours a day, they have 4 months paid vacation, they get raises even if they don't teach the kids. They have lifetime jobs. Who else in our society has that? That is a crime against black people, but until black people will look towards the Republican Party and get into it and fight, they're never going to get out of this hole. So, you know, I don't think people are equal in this society. I mean, you know, but the question is of whether there's an opportunity to succeed. You know, there's never been a Jewish president, but there is a black president. So you should celebrate the enormous strides that the black community has made, and then look at who's standing on your necks. It's the Democratic Party and the left. Teacher unions. We'll come back. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Gary Faust, and I'm a teacher at UC Irvine.
I know who you are.
As you know, UCI has the most aggressive Muslim student union in the country, and it was the scene of the disruption of the Orange speech last year. Since then, last year and this year, at Israel Apartheid Week, the community has said enough is enough, and they are fighting back. We have Israel Apartheid Week going on right now as we speak. The community is coming out in spite of the objections of most of the major Jewish organizations who want to sweep it under the rug. And we're actually, we're whooping their butts. I'm telling you the truth, we're whooping their butts. So my question, I want to ask you about the Olive Tree Initiative, which was originated at UCI and is now spreading to UCLA, Santa Cruz, and the other UC campuses. For those of you who don't know, this is a program where Jewish, Muslim, and Christian students are taken to Israel and the West Bank and exposed to people from both sides of the controversy. It is our opinion that this program is badly slanted in favor of the Palestinian narrative. Many of these people they meet with are in the International Solidarity Movement, and now it has just come out in 2009 that the group met with a leader of Hamas on the West Bank. I'd like to get your reaction.
Well, my view of the Orange County Federation and all the Jewish organizations like Hillel that are involved in this is that they're exactly parallel to the Judenrats in the 30s and 40s who organized the Jewish community to go to its deaths in the death camps. The Nazis never could have killed 6 million Jews if they didn't have these Jewish councils organizing the Jews to go peacefully to slaughter. These people are in serious, serious denial. And you know, you have to say, I mean, it's a burden of the Jewish community because for 2,000 years, we had to live in other people's societies as without power, at their mercy. And so we developed an appeasement mentality. And that's what this is, it's an appeasement mentality. Jews lived in ghettos for thousands of years, and they were not like the ghettos we refer to. They were places where you couldn't leave legally. Anyway, I mean, this is a fight that I have, and my center has now taken up, and we're going to carry it on within the Jewish community. There are members of Jewish organizations here who did not support this speech, not because they disagreed with it, but because they were intimidated by the Muslim Students Association and the Students for Justice in Palestine. You cannot be free unless you're willing to stand up for yourself. Go ahead.
Time for 2 more questions. Just to set that up.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You had addressed that the black communities can expand and they can get better if we get a Republican in these communities. But how can we bring this and address this to our people if in the Bush administration we allowed the Republicans to run our nation and he couldn't even hold our nation down, a nation? So how can we expect our communities to trust the Republican to hold down our own?
I never in my life have said trust a politician.
No, not even trust. But wait a minute, I think you understand my question though. Like,
I said you need a two-party system. You need to make the Democrats nervous.
That's not what you said. You said bring a Republican into it. If we get the Democrats out and bring a
Well, that's the other party.
How can we make that happen?
Well, you need two parties. You will gain power if the Democrats think you will actually vote for a Republican. That's just the way politics works. And if you have a figure like Allen West, I mean, if you can find a black Republican or a white Republican who will really fight your fight, then you should support them. Don't allow the Democratic Party to own you. The Democratic Party owns the black community, and that's why it can walk all over it. That's a problem. Look, you're a student. I'm just trying to get you to think. Instead, I understand this, but if you read the whole statement I made, it was that black people should embrace America because you came here in 1607 probably. I don't know when the first slaves were brought.
How can we embrace, yes, you're saying black people should embrace America, but how can we embrace America when we have black people, most of our black people are struggling? We can go to a black person's neighborhood and see the ghetto, and we can go to a white person's neighborhood and see how it's better 90%, but how can we embrace that if we're struggling? Like, we're struggling. How do we embrace that?
You're ignoring, most, 49% of the black community is in the middle class. There are lots of rich black Americans and very powerful black Americans. There are whole cities run by black people. If there's a problem, I'll tell you, the Philadelphia schools, they're terrible. But they're run by black people. So, it's a more complex problem. But you begin by identifying as Americans and not feeling, it's like America is your enemy. That's not helpful to you. But anyway.
America's our enemy. You just said we should embrace America. How are we going to do one?
No, you saying America is your enemy, and that is self-defeating. Anyway, I'd love to talk longer.
What's your game plan? Like, we're addressing the problems. Do you have an action plan?
Sure. The first thing is you should, we're going to stop with this because we have too many. I'm going to take one more question and then you can talk to me afterwards. What you need to do is the black children and Hispanic children, in this state it's mainly Hispanic children, but black children as well, are being oppressed by the teacher unions and the school system. So you have to take away their power. And the way to do it would be to voucherize the entire educational system. Right up, in my view, through the university level. Instead of the education dollars that the government collects going to the bureaucracies that are not serving the community, they should go directly to the parents. And the parents will then be able to find a school. So every parent in the state who has a child should get $15,000 per child, or whatever. I think that's probably the per pupil cost. Then you could create schools that would teach your children. And the only people proposing this that I know of are Republicans. But Republicans, unfortunately, they're like Jews in this. They propose these little modest programs thinking that the teacher unions, who are the enemies of the children, that the Democratic Party will accept it if it's reasonable and small. It needs to be big because it needs to wake up black parents, Hispanic parents, the parents of the kids in these schools. You know, I try to actually persuade Bush to do a $100 billion program like this, and it fell on deaf ears, because Republicans are very reasonable. Anyway, I'd love to talk to you more. You can always email me. I give you my email afterwards. But you need to read. Do you know the name Thomas Sowell? No. Yeah. I'm asking you the students because I know who their teachers are. Thomas Sowell is a very great and famous black economist who happens to be a conservative. He's at the Hoover Institution. If you read his books or Walter Williams' books, you would understand more the root out of this problem, the path out of it. But never trust an individual politician, please. You've got to be there and keep them honest. Yeah, one more. This has gone on.
Thank you for coming tonight. My question, in Andrew Breitbart's new book, he talks about the Clarence Thomas hearings and how it was a major event from his transition from the left. And I was wondering if you had a similar transition from the progressive movement, and how do we get people to hear both sides? And, you know.
Too many questions. I will answer just in a nutshell. I was when I was a radical, I got involved through a Hollywood producer with the Black Panther Party. I raised a great amount of money. It was $150,000 in those days, but today it would be many times that. And bought a church to use as the Black Panther school. And what I didn't realize was that the Black Panther Party was a criminal street gang with progressive covering. And they murdered the woman that I recruited to keep the books of the school. And that woke me up, or really stopped me from going on in my, it knocked me off the white horse I was on. Anyway, that was my turning point. I wrote a book, Radical Son, for anybody interested about this. Anyway, you're gonna, it's a real surprise to me. When I walked in here, I thought we were gonna have a really tough evening. Shows you that appearances can be deceptive. No, or maybe I'm just paranoid from all of the attacks on my speech. When you arrive and you know you've been attacked for weeks and there are threats, it affects your mentality. Thank you, David. Anyway, thank you all for coming. You've been great.